actually that's some of the things which will cause that if you're a first mover and you're the ones who is in the front, you will also be hurt most. But I think this, even being here for a couple of days, I can really feel there's a lot of things going on. I think there's a lot of potential, not only in Ghana, but in general in the whole Africa, about producing your own fish, which you should do, of course, instead of importing from everywhere in the world, because you have the resources, you have the waters to do it. But I think also we need to look at in any of these African countries where I have been operating. So we have farms in DRC, Burundi, Togo, we have farms in Malawi, we have farms in Uganda, and it's all a little bit the same. So if we try to come in and say, let's try and develop the farms in a technical way as well, so we don't keep on inventing the wheel, all of us. So I think we need to look at how we actually want to get to the top sooner, instead of trying to come up with ideas about, I think I can do this different. But I think we have a situation here, we can really find those who do well and then support them. And I think also if you look at the sales of the fish in this country, I really support the way fish has been sold in the past and still getting sold with fish ladies selling the fish. I think it's a great thing, but we probably also have to recognize one day that we probably need to get together and start selling our fish together instead of selling them individuals, you know, because I think the part of this saying that the fish feed is getting too expensive here is actually because the sales price of fish is too low, you know, so we need probably to get together and get the right price for the fish instead of selling it too cheap. So that can be done if we look a little bit to the north where I come from, is that actually big farms in Norway, Denmark and Sweden, Finland, they have a sales organization which actually takes all the fish. So instead of all the farms have their own sales management team, we might as well have one team selling all the fish. I know it will sound crazy here for the fish ladies that they will be out of work, but I think there's so many other jobs which will be created that way, because that's a way to control prices, is to stand together and get the right price for the good products. So that's I think that's what I want to say now.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll add something little to what my colleagues have said. For the aquaculture industry in Ghana now, I would say, is in the developing stage, and there are greater opportunities because when you look at what we have in the Volta Lake, it gives a wider resources to explore, let alone the inland ponds that has possibility of being set up. Where we are now is how, as a country, we can harness this opportunity and take advantage of it. How, as a country, having a huge deficit in fish consumption, as the import rate is higher than what is being produced in Ghana here. So once we have the resources in terms of the natural resources of the lake, in terms of the inland, and the pristine quality of the water lake, what it offers, it gives a good environment for aquaculturists to improve on the production and get quality to the market. And when we look at all these things, it means that there are greater opportunities for us to explore, there are greater opportunities for us to achieve. Not looking only in Ghana, but also seeing the opportunity to export, which could be a greater advantage to governance, greater advantage to the economy, greater advantage to the country as large. So now that is the developing stage, how can we train people? How can we guide? How can policies be set up for developing aquaculture companies, developing individual farms? How can regulatory authorities also play their parts to help in actualizing what the ministry have in mind, especially the Ministry of Fisheries? So that's what I can add for the current status of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I have another question for you all. As senior executives in the aquaculture industry in our country, what do you think are our biggest challenges or the biggest challenges facing the industry? I know we want to talk about the future, but we cannot talk about the future when we do not even know what the challenges are. So what are the biggest challenges facing the industry at the moment? Let's start with wisdom.
Yeah, thank you very much. The challenges actually, they cannot be relative to us because we are all players in the industry, because one side affects the other. For me, in as much as we have individual content that we can put on the table, it comes back to the environment in which we are operating, which would surely be linked up with policy issues, government, and what have you. We know exactly that, yes, there is an aquaculture development plan that is really running up to 2028. We are part of it. We've acceded to it. But the implementation of that, and then whatever it comes with, does it align with policies? These are the key things that we have to really take a look at. I really want to use this particular medium to call on the chamber and to ask a question. That we are here at an aquaculture conference. I want to know from the Fisheries Commission how many aquaculture teams or members are on the board of the Fisheries Commission.
Is there anyone here from the Fisheries Commission? Unfortunately, there's not. Okay. So.
Because for 15 years in this industry, I know players or staffs that works there, but we're talking about the board where decision and other things are really taken. How many aquaculture players or folks have been on the board to have a slot to make sure that day-to-day activities of the industry, there is really a communicating fellow for it. I have involved players or leaders in this particular sector in policy levels and what have you. We know that, yes, issues have to go to Parliament and they must have people to talk on our behalf who is really so much vested in aquaculture to really play that and then advance our issues at the policy level. These are some of the things I want to ask from the chamber to follow up and then give us a response. When these things are there, it can minimize some of this, the question that you have asked, that what are our challenges or what do we expect? Because we know exactly the inputs. The inputs on fingerlings or hatcheries, you name them. Training, you name them. You can mention about fish sales that have been mentioned. We, apart from WAF, every farmer now is really managing their marketing activity. Those that do not have marketing activity, we have the market women who we value them. They are the backbone of the industry. Where do they sell their fish? They are really subjected to the open weather. You go to Tema motorway roundabout, midnight, these are where our mothers, our wives, our sisters are in the darkness, really selling fish by the roadside. What area have been designated that it can be a centralized market that every farmer can just move there or sellers can go there? These are some issues that I know for sure, or I really deem as important to us. When we can really look at those areas, those in active activities, we can see sustainability, we can see growth, and we can see investment retention or attract more investment into the sector. Because population is not waiting for all this. We are increasing our numbers day by day. Demand is coming, and that's it. If we don't do this, then we are not able to protect our own industry. We are not able to, then we will be really faced with importation of similar fish that can be produced here from other things to come and meet the gap. We already know the data of fish being imported into the country every day, whereby the possibility is there to really narrow the gap to get it good. So I would really allow my colleagues to talk, because this is just a short session and we are available to add more to see exactly how best we can all really advance this to see a vibrant industry, fully represented at all levels, to make sure that our issues can be heard and then we can really have the best it takes to project and grow accordingly. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for that. That's a good input. I see also, you know, the issue here about people talk a lot about fish feed is too expensive. But it's really not the issue. Is that, you know, you need to know how fish are produced as well, because sometimes people say fish feed is too expensive, but if you don't know the numbers from the production and you don't know exactly what your FCR is and what your growth rate is and so on, you can't really compare price. There's so many things in this feed thing which people often go to and say we need to change feed prices. Yes, but often what you see is you get a quality of feed which will make your farm doing worse. Some of the things I think we're getting back to the fish sales is that, you know, looking into Europe, how they sell a lot of their fish. A lot of their fish is sold in auctions, you know, like if people come and bid on the fish. It's also could be an opportunity, you know, to try and do that so it becomes like demand is actually also being the price. Because sometimes here there is a big demand, but there is also a thing here, people wait as long as they can to buy the fish because they think it will be cheaper. So I think that there's a few things I think regarding the sales can be done here which can improve both the way fish quality is, you know, because that's also the issue here is if you transport your fish far without having the right condition for transporting them, you can't expect to get a prime price for your product when you need to sell them. So it's also the handling of the fish, even from when you harvest the fish in the cages. If you don't do the harvest in the right way, if you don't handle the fish correctly, the quality of the fish will deteriorate and you will actually be able to not get the price you really want. So there's a lot of things here, I think a lot of knowledge can be put into the aquaculture sector still here. And I think there's a lot of people that actually know what to do. But there's also a lot of people who doesn't know really what quality of fish is and also how can it be sold to a better price. If we can just get the price of fish to become around $3 all the time, then everybody actually will be happy in this kind of business. And this goes not only for Ghana, this is also Nigeria, it's also Burkina Faso, wherever fish is farmed. $3 is actually the minimum to get a proper farm going, but also make it interesting to investors. Because end of the day, these fish farms, they just didn't come by itself. You know, they came because somebody wanted to invest money in them. I know there's a lot of small farms as well here, which is also very good. But end of the day, you will see by time, farms will become bigger and bigger, whether you like it or not. The industry will always go that way like it did in Europe. If you go back to the 70s in Europe, we had small cages in Denmark, in Norway, they were tiny cages. And then today we are farming fish in huge cages. And the reason is the production cost will be a lot lower if you can do that. So there's a lot of things still to manage, you know, in the industry. Bringing in a technology in, you know, reducing your mortality rates, looking at how can you get a better survival in your cages and all this stuff. There's a lot to be done. Even on the breeding side, what kind of breeding is done in the country, so it can be improved. I can just let you know, like in America, you can find tilapia which can grow to 2 kilos. In the same time, we can grow a tilapia to 500 grams here. But you can imagine what that makes of change in an industry. So we also need to develop our broodstock here. We need to develop the whole industry, saying find the small places where you can tune your production. Then you have a better chance to survive in the business. Because if you think you can just go in and do farming and it's an easy game, you will lose your money. So that's my point.
That's great. And I think there are coordinated form of challenges in the value chain and the mainstream aquaculture industry for what we have experienced. Feed is one of them, as feed cost is one of them, but sometimes you cannot always blame the suppliers because of economic indicators and devaluation in the system. So Anders was talking about getting around $3 per kilo will help. Then I asked, is the Aquaculture Ghana, what's their role in controlling or influencing pricing in the market? Because once we do not have a body in controlling that, emerging farms will die off because they cannot keep to the production cost, and pricing will be a factor. Then you ask yourself, other places people can grow tilapia to 2 kg. Ghana, there are policies not to go into some species and other things, because some species can grow faster, which can enhance your FCR. It can also help in your production timeline, which will reduce your cost of production and all that. Is Ghana ready to allow for genetically selected, I will not say improved, genetically selected species? You have a conscious effort to work on it to help the growth rate. These are some of the challenges at production. Speaking on sales, you ask yourself, we dealing with fresh tilapia. How's your logistics that you have to reach to the market? That determines the quality you have to give to the market. That determines the timelines you have to reach to the market. And you're not concentrating only in Accra or Greater Accra. You're going somewhere in Western North. You're going somewhere in Tamale. You're going beyond that. All these factors come into your cost. Yet, if you cannot peg your price at the $3 that he's talking about, whilst your competitors are selling at different price, then the industry as a whole becomes a challenge, and any new entry will die off. So it's a major challenge, a coordinated effort to stay at a particular sector, to stay at a particular price, a coordinated effort to have an agreed policies in the system that will help and sustain new entrants, that will help and sustain smaller farms, that will help to sustain the industry as a whole. Because we're not only fighting or working to improve our companies, but to feed Ghana, to deplete the fish importation deficit that we have. So this is the major thing. Regulatory authorities, this is a major thing, how we can have an agreed prices, a framework that operates a limited price range, that people will not veer off so much, an agreed network on quality, on species, that you can improve on your production timeline. If you are doing 120 days, can you bring it to 90 days? Can you bring it to 80 days? And at 80 days, what ABW are you looking at? All these factors are impeding growth and impeding sustainability in the business. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments and responses. I'm very happy because we have representatives from the major political parties in our country here with us. So I'm sure they'll take notes and pass them on to their teams to, maybe help us as an industry. So thank you very much. Now I think we have to move on to the future, which is what we really came here to talk about. So based on the data available, the trends, and your experience that you have in the industry, what do you think the future looks like for our industry in Ghana?
Yeah, thank you. The future looks good simply because we are not far from reality, what we are doing today. In as much as we're calling for regulatory issues and whatever it is, our foundation really looks good. That the policies or the aquaculture agenda is even there as a guide, leading us that, okay, from here up to 2026, we know where we're heading to, we know the projection, we know whatever we bring it on board. It is not really just producing fish, it is really addressing nutritional issues. It is really addressing the SDG goals. It is providing employment. It is reducing malnutrition and then also food security issues. So there is really something good in the future. How to get there is exactly what we are communicating on. On our side, as business entities, we are actually, we continuously to invest. What should really optimize us to get there? Technology-wise, being ethical in our practices, really being exactly how we can really make use of our on-tap space in the setup, because we see that there is still more possibility for us. We have on-tap capacity that we are not really hitting today too. So we are ready for the future, which is good. All we just accent is that there should be that policy drive, protecting us, giving us the opportunity to grow. All that my colleagues have mentioned, to really have that guarantee that yes, we are here, we're going here, and this is exactly the focus and how we get in there with that security. Because at the moment we are actually left alone. In terms of sourcing raw materials, it is subject to the forex. In my facility, we tried as much to control this by actually scooping 70% of raw materials within the country. And we import 30%, which we know that we can never get anywhere than importation. But this is not easy for us. If government is really managing, let's say, or to come out, I keep saying that the population in this room is really more than the feed produces companies in this country. So with that such small number, what is the policy? Government have great policy on production and whatever it is. Maize is really our major input. How are we able to really see for sure that in future we can have commodities that can stabilize our production? 10 to 5 years plan, a short term, middle term, long term plan as a country. These are the way to go. We know for sure that cocoa silos are across the country. Government have a good policy on cocoa, purchasing cocoa. Can government do the same for maize, for protection of industry? Know for sure that we don't need to be running around for raw materials. We know for sure that the foundation or the policy is guiding us for that. Others that we have to import, we can manage. We work here, our raw materials are with even, let's say, Thai Union or Cosmos Energy, Seafood, that produce our fish meal and our fish oil for us. All these products, we have to really buy them as if it's an imported product. You cannot walk to buy them. You need to contract an agent as how do we call him? A shipping agent, to really go through that process, clearance everything through customs, and pay duty on it. We in the agri sector, we not duty, we don't charge VAT and what have you. So these are the things that we just asking government. Agri, as I keep saying, is a geopolitics. If you don't really make sure that your country or your people are fed well, then it's a very big challenge. We've seen it elsewhere. The good thing going on, all that we want is just a country to provide us the same, and we'll reap that. And these are the things that we are looking forward. If government can just support this, with all that is going on, protect the end user or the sales, we're not really coming in that we want to milk the public, because at the end of the day, we are sitting here. No doubt my company is a cycle farms, you know. I produce feed, he uses the feed, they sell the fish, and it comes back for me for consumption. So we are actually in part of the systems that we are cannot really separate ourselves from. All we need is that the policymakers should really bring that on board, bring huge inclusion. That is exactly what we're experiencing today, because globalization is key. We sit today that we're talking about the, what is the name? It's trade, you can help me with it. The after, yes. How, as a country, can we tap into that advantage? If these policies are not there to lead us, we will no more become first mover advantage in this regards, despite all the resources we have around us. So it's very critical in that. Government need to do this and bring everybody on board. We are in an industry today that is very challenging. Yesterday and today, all the players of aquaculture are gathering here, and I think we are echoing something back to the system for it to be adjusted to. But there are some players who are not here today. They've not been here, they've not been there yesterday, and that's it. We need everybody to be on board. We cannot go and chase people to come here. We're talking about, we have other international companies that are operating aquaculture in this country. They don't produce the fish and export it. They produce the fish for Ghanaians to consume. And forums like this, government need to make sure that everybody participates in it, to make sure that we can really bring a wholesome food on the part of it. I don't really want to sound by picking on other demographic of nationals or whatever it is. But it is really important that we all come together as players, have a common view, a common work, and get there to go. And this would really help us as a nation.
Thank you very much, Wisdom.
Yes, I think for me, I think the future of aquaculture generally in Africa looks very good. Talking about Ghana, I think Ghana has a lot of potential which is unused still. But I also think that, you know, we need to take it from the very bottom, from where does it actually start? How do we start a fish farm? You know, often you could buy the state of the art of a fish farm, but if you don't have the right human resources to look after it or to manage it, it often becomes a problem. So I think, you know, the sector probably need to have a lot of more input into the universities regarding how to actually manage farms as well, not only to how to do the production, because everybody can read a book how to breed tilapia. It's not brain surgery you need for doing that. So I just think, you know, like we need to get back to where we say the youth, you know, the people in the universities, we really need to find out how they are actually taught what to do. Looking at the lectures there and seeing, are they actually getting the right information to the students, you know? And I don't think we are actually doing that. I think we're actually shooting a little bit in the blind regarding that. I think there's not a general way of actually educating students in university generally. And I think that's a big mistake, because we need to train them for all the aspects in a fish farm, not only being a part of the production, but also actually some of them being able to sit as a CEO, you know, to make sure that things are actually happening. So it's very important that we beef up the education, because that's also what happened, you know, anywhere else in the world about how can you improve things. You can only improve things if you have the right human resources to run your business. If your human resources is not working, they will fail. So I think we need to start in some of those places as well, because we have the technologies, we have the fish feed, we have the market. So we just need to optimize it here and there, and I think that takes a little bit of time, because we know you go into the university, it takes 3 years, and then you're first finished. But if we don't train them in the right way, Just an example, I went to Gabon to see a university where they graduated 170 students every second year. It was only aquaculture. And I was actually surprised to see what they did there, because they were teaching these people how to make aquaculture, commercial aquaculture. But they spent 2 years actually importing trees from Thailand, showing them how to plant trees and use, tree leaves to grow fish, At the same time, they imported fish from Thailand without any control. So I just saw a lot of things which I don't like. Because the biggest mistake is you start inventing something you don't have to do, and actually train students in something they will never need. Because these guys, 180 students, when they go out and want a job, we know they don't want a job, all of them here in Ghana. They will all also be looking for jobs somewhere else. Some will go overseas, but they will never get a job with that education. So I just think we need to plan the education very carefully so they all trained for the future, not going back in time, because we don't want to go back. We want to see the future, and we want to get to how actually things are done. Let's say in Norway, how did they grow their salmon industry to where it is today? They did it because they actually managed to get a lot of good companies set up which could make money. So as soon as you can prove you can make money in a company, you get more investors. And investment is what we need in aquaculture. We cannot do with small farmers and then we will see the business here, aquaculture sector going up. No, it has actually to take some bigger investments and come in. So we need, of course, the government to play a role as well. Maybe reduce taxes on any, something has to do with aquaculture, or just to give them a hand, to make sure that in the time it takes to get up to where they can actually make it profitable, they should be reasonable, both with the import duties and stuff like that, because that doesn't really help. So I think, let's tune it everywhere. I think the education thing, the HR, I think there's a lot to be done. For ourselves personally, we have started 5 farms now in 5 different countries in Africa, and they all go through the same college. So we have actually our own college, which we actually go in and say, to become a fish farmer in any of those 5 farms, you need to go through our own college. And that's like an online course where you go through many different things before you even get employed. I know here, when I was here in Ghana in 2008, when we started employing, people here, we took people from the village, to come and run a multinational company, and it, of course they made a lot of mistakes, because you can't do that, you can't take a school teacher from a township and ask him to come and run a fish farm which turns over $50 million a year, so that's not possible. So we need to make sure people are getting the right education, for being dressed to actually take up the challenge about what it is, because there is a lot of challenges in the daily work regarding aquaculture. But as long as you are dressed, for it, you will also be able to manage it. So I think education is important. Then all the technical stuff, we can get that, all the feed, we can get that. And the investors, they will come when things are in order. But there's no investment coming in if HR is not in place, because they want to see it that first. Management, I think, is a big thing in this.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I see from the point that aquaculture, especially in Ghana, has a very bright future. It looks good. When you do the demographic analysis and seeing now per head consumption of 26 kg is above the world average, FOA average. So it means fish consumption in Ghana is very high.
I mean, just for the sake of those who may not be from our sector, what is the FAO average?
The FAO average is 23.
23. So
yes.
It means Ghana, we consume extra 3 kilos.
Extra 3 kilos per person. And we still have a continuum growth in our demography, our people. Yet, when you do analysis of aquaculture contribution in Ghana, it's less than 5% to the total consumption of fish inputs in general. So when you do this analysis, you see that there's a big gap. Even if aquaculture is to take 15% or 20%, it's a long way to go. That tells us that the opportunity is there, that we can harness that opportunity. And seeing an opportunity and harnessing it comes with preparedness and plan to do it. Every year when you read the annual budget from government, you go to the fisheries side, they have a portion of their target, their expectation of what they want to drive the aquaculture or fisheries to. Then it comes to understanding that government and the aquaculture industry have the same goal, that we want to develop, we want to improve. In that sense, what's government doing to help the aquaculture companies to improve? It's not just, as Andrew was saying, it's not just training people in school, but do they have the practical touch to it? What are our commercial banks doing? Is there any support? And do the commercial banks have people with the practical experience? Assuming a loan is given to a company, the shadow officer, does he have a practical experience and understanding to guide that company in using the fund for what it has been allotted for? So it goes through all these processes to be a government policy and being loyal to the policy, following what should be done. These are gaps impeding the growth. But the opportunity is there. The opportunity is great. But what can we do to just grab this opportunity? And improving in aquaculture does not help only the health, but the actual inflation rate, the devaluation of our dollar, because the amount of money we use for importation is very high. So it works a longer way to save the economy, to save the country, and also create jobs for the individual in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm happy you spoke about the commercial banks, because the next session after this will be a session on culture financing. So those who are interested in that area, you could also hang around for that session. I think due to time constraints, we would have to open the floor for Q&A. If you have any question, please just raise your hand and yes, this gentleman will bring the microphone to you. You can ask the question to any of our resource people here. So we can take 3 questions at a time, then after answering them, we go for another 3.
Thank you very much. Mine is not really a question, it's an addition from your panelists. It came out that somebody was asking if the Board of Fisheries had aquaculturists or specialists on. I would say for now, no, because when the Act 625 came into being, aquaculture was not so much prominent in Ghana. But there's a representative of fisheries on it. With what is happening today, while gathering all stakeholders in the industry, I think this is the time for us to push that forward. I know for sure the Act is in review, and this is the time that we can make that stake and get a portion of it ourselves in there, so that we can champion whatever we want to do. Then also came to the marketing side. Yes, when you go to just water catch your place, you will see other farms with the advanced marketing their fishes there. It's all because water catch cited their market there and they want to take a bit of the share of the market. But however, as an association, we can champion that. I'm saying this because there is NAFTA, and then at a time when the WAF project was on, they wanted to site across the country processing centers, at least in each region. The government wanted to do that with the NAFTA as an association. It couldn't succeed well because the government was championing it, trying to get a site, and those sites that came out, the same association members in the various regions were fighting. Because somebody, for example, in Greater Accra comes from Ada, and then the site is supposed to be at, let's say, Dodowa. Then they started questioning, how is it going to benefit the one at Teshi? So they were left to go and then iron out those things, and that was the end from the beginning. But then I believe sincerely that if the association as QUA would come out by citing various areas, agreed areas, then we can push the government to support that. Than to leave it for the government to do, I don't think is going to work very much for us. Looking at the sponsors over here, they are no mean small people. Very big organizations are here, and if we come together and we push that idea, I don't think we are going to lose that. This is what I asked.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Nuhu. Yes, from the engagements from the onset, unfortunately I have a few questions. I don't know if I'm allowed to. Yes. The first is you indicated government's need for modern support. In your view, what is modern support from government? That's the first one. The second, he talked about regulatory challenges. What are the current regulatory bottlenecks that you see that government needs to work on? Again, he mentioned something about the aquaculture development plan, its implementation, and the challenges that are currently bedeviling that. Can you expatiate on that? From government's point of view, what are the challenges you in industry foresee? And then the last is has to do with the price. As a country, there are two things we have to consider. We are not as developed or as economically wealthy as the developed world. And so if we have to do our things using certain standards, there may be impacts that we do not foresee. For instance, if we say $3 per kilo should be the maximum, the minimum, the optimum economic price. If you come to Ghana and you sell a kilo of fish for $3, that translates to right now about 45 cedis, almost 50 cedis. The challenge is that the 26, the standard you've mentioned, the 26 consumption kilos per capita is likely to suffer because you are going to sell the price of fish higher than alternatives that people can get. And so if I am somebody that have 20 cedis and I have been consuming fish because it's sold at 20 cedis, and you sell the fish now at 45 cedis or 50 cedis, what you are likely to do is to push me to go and buy chicken, which is 25 cedis. And so while we are trying to push the industry to go forward, if we are not careful with pricing, we may end up pulling it down. That's the first part. The second thing is you talked about regulating the pricing. There's a difficulty in terms of the legal regime we operate. We are a capital economy. You cannot go and dictate price to somebody. You can suggest, you can put in measures that helps to bring the price down, but you cannot dictate it. And so we must be careful about that. So my question or my suggestion is that what are the current practical practices, technological innovations that we can put in place to reduce the cost of production across the value chain. If we are talking about feed, what does government need to do to reduce the cost or the price of feed production? If the farming, what are the innovative practices you can bring in to reduce the cost so that at least the price issue is a bit moderated? So I don't know if I've spoken too much. Those are the 4 questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think our resource people can respond to them, then we go to the next set of questions.
Okay, so on modern regulation of modern, listen, I use the word modern because we keep calling or saying that we quote act. I don't know much about the act, whatever it is, and to quote it up. But I think lawyer is here also to help me with that. Anything today we do in, as somebody said that the law that was passed, this aquaculture is new and whatever it takes, and therefore it takes away. The industry is always ahead of government. We actually take the shot, and policies are actually what couch out to keep it going. And today, what is happening, there's a lot of technology in aquaculture space, the use of other means to cut down cost, water management, efficiency in your way of working. All those things today, we are not really there today in Ghana to implement them, like using of algae, using of bioflocs, and others. Today, you are actually, I have a colleague here who imported equipment, biofloc equipment into the country. In clearing it, going through even the ministry saying that this is not captured in the law. So you cannot really have any incentive on this. So if we're talking about modernization, it's purely to see how best we can align current thing that is happening today, which will not be in conflict with the laws that we have passed, that because this is not really captured in the law, we cannot implement this, and we have to really suffer for it. The implementation of the plan is real. The fact of it is that how many times, being in the industry, have government or the policymaker called to do an E&E, a monitoring evaluation on even the plan? That what have we, this is the KPIs, what have we achieved? What have been the bottlenecks? So there are really challenges. The plans are there, and it comes to funding from their end to execute it. So there is always a fantastic plan, but its accomplishment or its execution is not there. So we are just really bringing or echoing this thing back that we want to see the effective flow of this plan. In it, if it is well executed, issue I just mentioned about maize, for instance, can be anticipated, and I will not be working with headache. Issues on exemption or whatever it takes for us to keep our production going will not be. Issues that we're talking about, example with, let's say, we are ready to pay tax, but how can my 3% tight capital is held for a year until you run an audit before you can assess your withholding tax, which is really held with government? Sometimes you have to really fight to use that to even do a tax clearance and others through your respective tax office. So there are things today being practiced here. We need to really see how best we can modernize it. That is why I'm saying that in the category that some of us find ourselves in, we are not more than even this population here. So what's really makes government or policymakers not to put us there, check and balance to say that, okay, you are free from withholding tax, you can have that fund really circulating. We have been asked a question that what are some of the challenges? I think none of us have mentioned finance here. Not that because we have the money. We know exactly the environment we are. If other things are polished up, when even you have the finance, you can use it well and you can benefit from it. It's expensive from the bank, we cannot cope with it. Coupled with all this complicity, it's really a challenge. So it is just a core thing that we want to be at the table to to dialogue more on this. When the room is given to us, if aquaculture is not just a rhetoric, but we are really there to really make sure that we communicate well, it goes to Parliament, and anybody who is really projecting our issue understand what aquaculture is. There are people today who says they don't want to eat any fish. They are really conception and whatever. These are some of the people who are communicating or really carrying our documents to project on our side. We need to really change this up. And it's really a multiplicity of it. Despite the potential we are talking about, there's really a lot of work that we need to collaborate to do. So the question you asked, these are the key things I just want to really let you know. And I'll be glad if you are really from the entity side to really be one of the ambassadors to really lead us in championing this discussion to the level that it will go. Thank you.
Okay. He asked what things can be done to help improve, cut down our production costs in such a way that we can be in line with the pricing. Thing is, for substitute products, when you do the analysis, they are also running close to what tilapia is being sold. But the challenges in the market now is, as my big brother said, when you are even importing items, you have to pay, though you have exemption, but you have to pay, then later go for refund. How long does it take for the refund to come? The fiscal year will end. So you have to go and find finance to do it, and you have to pass it on. Feed. How much does feed cost? Government have to come in and also support the feed production companies in the country. There are some years we were importing feed. Now there are so many companies here. So government have to come in to support on raw materials. The maize, millet and other things, if they can get it here. The vitamin components, if they can, there is any institution to support them with those items. Moreover, when there are also automations that can be implemented in most production sites, be it the sampling automations, be it the processing automations, counting machines and all that. So if a company is willing to bring those automated facilities in, how quick is government ready to help in those aspects? In terms of the importation and those things. All these things, when they come in, it will reduce the production timelines, it will reduce your processing costs and all that. Then you can see that once your cost of production has come down, you can look at your pricing, because every company wants to improve the volumes or the sales volume. And if you have to reduce the price and sell more, why not? You use economy of scale to do that, then you still arrive at the same conclusion you're trying to arrive. So there are those things we're expecting from government and the industry players to assist in. Even capital financing is also one thing, I've already said it. But how can government play a role for these commercial banks to support capital financing, even if it's a loan for people to improve? That you will not go for a loan at a high interest rate, but a well moderated interest rate, which you don't have to pass so much huge amount of money onto the end consumer. All these things, if these things are looked into, it will help in reducing the cost of production, and hence it will also help our price regulations. Thank you.
I just want to make one comment to what I also think is reduce the cost of production. I think it's the same as when I was here. One of the biggest challenges that we also have on the fish farms is actually fish theft, either from employees stealing the fish or other people coming to steal the fish. So I think that, you know, like when we said about what can government do, you know, there is a police, you know, but I have not seen a police boat in Ghana. So it's also some of the things where you can say there's a way to help assist, you know, like the farmers to ensure that their assets are kept safe. I have heard as much as, you know, people losing 20% for theft. But if you take the 20%, that's a big chunk of your cost already there. And, you know, that's one of the things I think the government can improve on. And the same is, of course, you make regulations in the country for how can you do aquaculture, right? And you also can do what we call biosecurity. So, but somebody has to enforce the laws. You know, somebody has actually to make sure that people keep the laws. You know, so if a thing like, you know, transporting fish without a license, you know, if you did that in Europe, you would be going to jail. Because it's some of the things where things goes wrong is if people don't keep biosecurity as a safety factor. Because that's something which happens when you get diseases into a country. It's again the human resources, or you can say the law enforcement who has supposed to make sure it doesn't happen. And then of course the whole thing about veterinary services, which I also think is a big issue in any African country where I've been operating, is that we make a lot of fish farms, but we forget more or less to build up the industry together with it. So we make sure that, you know, it doesn't help that in Ghana you have one vet. Like when we started, there was like one vet who you could call if you had a problem with your fish. But you can imagine one vet have to cover the whole Ghana. So education, again, making sure, you know, all these services become a part of the industry, support these people to make sure the industry build up according to the increase of production. Because one day this production here in Ghana will come up to a point where you will be able to see that you don't really need to import so much anymore, because you'll be able to produce it locally. So that means, you know, like the nets, you are importing nets, you know, you're importing cages, you're importing fish feed sometimes, and a lot of other stuff. But a lot of that industry will come when you reach a certain point, when the industry is so large that you could actually have small companies supporting it. Because today is the issue also here that the farmers, they also need to have their own mechanics, they also need to run their own sites, they need to do the repair of their trucks, they need to do everything themselves, because there is no industry we can actually help them out. So I think but it needs to just go to a little bit higher level on production, then it will come by itself, but there's still a point there. But I think to keep law and order around the farmers will help a lot regarding this, because I know there's a lot of people suffering from this, and if you can reduce just the 20% towards theft, that's 20%, because you always lose the big fish, you know, they don't steal the small fish, they always steal the big fish where you have already spent all your money on the feed, growing them to the size. So yeah, I think that's a thing could be done.
I would like some clarity from the maybe aquaculture, or if anyone have it here, that how many labs do we have in Ghana concerning aquaculture, viral infection and other things? In terms of it crops out, how many labs do we have? And how is their rate of responding to treatment or recommending treatment? Because that really helps. Sometimes you can have a viral infection in the leg, and the mortality rate can even close some farms. And I don't know, so I just want to know, so I can be educated.
Let Let me quickly respond to that. So we have a few small laboratories across the country, mainly Accra and Kumasi. But recently, just about a month ago, thanks to the support of the Norwegian government, we have an ultra-modern lab at the University of Ghana campus, which can diagnose almost any disease anywhere in the world. So it's actually for West Africa, but it was cited here because of obviously the fact that Ghana is the center for West Africa and also the gateway to Africa. So I know we have some foreign people here, but please, this is the fact. Ghana is the doorway to Africa. So it's actually for West Africa. So wherever you are in Africa, whether in Nigeria, Togo, Burkina Faso, Mali, you can just bring your samples there and they'll work on it for you. And this is where I think we also have to commend the chamber, because it was through the effort of the chamber that we got the Norwegian government to bring this project to Ghana. So I believe the chamber needs to be commended for that. Thank you. Due to time constraints, you can only take 3 more questions. There's another session that is supposed to start. So 3 more questions and we go. I've not heard anything about fish processing. I know there's a big fish processor here. I thought he was going to ask a question. Anyway, so 1 from you, 1 from him, and the final 1 from you. So 3. So kindly ask your questions. Let's be a bit brief, okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I'm a fish processor and I'm also a fish farmer. What I've realized about the industry is that both producers and processors are technical people. We know about the technical know-how, we know about the ABCD of what we are doing, but the business aspect of it is a problem. And we should be able to dichotomize between the two. The government comes in with the technical assistance, we appreciate that, but we need the business aspect of it. Business aspect that can look at market research, that can look at crisis, how to manage challenges, pricing, and what have you. We also need to identify the various occupations in the value chain and how to improve upon that. If we can do some of these things, trust me, then we'll be heading to the right direction. I will allow my big father, my big brother, my partner, my friend, to also add some flesh to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, it's more of a contribution and an observation. I believe that we have all been sold short. You know, you hear, oh, poor farmer. Ghana, don't we hear that? And I'm disappointed that the panel is also repeating that. If a man has 100 head of cattle, can he be poor? But no, he's a poor farmer. If somebody has 20 kgs on the lake and he's producing, he comes under poor farmer. Now, Mr. Chairman, how is the Ghana Bar Association governed? The Ghana Medical Association, there are so many associations that are self-governing, self-regulating, and they go out and then force the policymaker to make the policies. But because we have all bought into poor farmer, we are waiting for government to come and do something for us. Let's change the paradigm. Me, I'm not a poor farmer. No. Let's change that paradigm. It is because we accept it. We sit back and say, government this, government that, government this, government that. But if we come together, come on, if even we are only doing 5% of the total fish need of the nation, and we know that with just a little bit of fine-tuning, we can take it up to 6, 7, 10, 20%. And you'll be talking about a huge revenue. But we don't have a say. We wait for, if government will do this, if government will do that. Let's change our mindset. Me, I'm not a poor farmer. I don't know about you. You can decide to stay there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think your point is well made. It's as a result of some of these things that we set up the Chamber of Aquaculture. It's an industry-led organization. We are not waiting for government. Over the last 5 to 6 years, we've made a lot of progress. And Wisdom, who has been with us right from the beginning, and Anders, and the gentleman there also from Tropo, Ghana has made a lot of progress in the area of aquaculture. And it's all because we also share the same view that you have, that the Ghanaian farmer is not poor. We just have to change our mindset. So thanks to our effort, government has come up with certain policies to help support the industry. But we still have a long way to go. And this is why we have such events, to share ideas and see how best we can all work with government to get the industry moving again. So thank you very much. Any other question? Yes, sir.
Yes, so it's also a contribution to what has been discussed so far. So with what my senior brother from Cycle Farm said, I think the stakeholders, like we are gathered here, should make their case. Okay, you make your case. What is it needs for aquaculture? Okay, so I'm happy the government has started some work in putting up some training centers at Agri-Top and all that. But the question is it enough? Okay, so if you build your case and take it to government, okay, people stand the opportunity to build careers in aquaculture. And so the importation of fish, the gap is so huge. Okay, so building the case, you force government to fine-tune the support for aquaculture. Like the gentleman asked, what are the areas you need support? I think that you need support in the entire value chain, from production to marketing. A lot of catfish farmers are suffering and everybody is complaining, there's no market, there's no market. Well, the ministry and the chamber have started doing some work for a couple of years now. A lot of shows are being organized. This is the platform where all the stakeholders, for me, you are not united. Because there was recently a program that was held in one of the facilities. I happened to be there. And one of the farmers is trying to suggest the food supplement. Okay, but because he didn't sit down well with the professors and the doctors on board, I saw some kind of, they tend to disagree. So I got up and told them, the background I'm coming from before joining the aquaculture industry, they are big boys. I'm from the cocoa sector. They are big boys. One cocoa processing machine can take care of the entire aquaculture industry. If you don't get united, if you don't formulate your policies, your structures, your rules and regulations, the do's and don'ts, if any of them should get hold of this industry, they'll clear all of you away. So one, as he said, you need to be united. There should be more collaboration. That is where we can force government to come in and create more jobs for the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I think we're on track. We started with about 20 major stakeholders. I can tell you that at the moment you have over 150 of the major players in our industry all collaborating with the Chamber of Aquaculture. So we are making a lot of progress. And we hope to bring everyone on board. We meet regularly with all the government agencies and we share ideas with them. The various political parties have also come to us to listen to us, our challenges and all that. So it's progress. We used not to have this even 10 years ago. and all the stakeholders know this. So I think we have a lot of work to do, but we should also be proud of what we have achieved. Okay, so I'll ask my resource people to give their final words. If you can, maybe just 1 minute each, because the next session has to start. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think, as rightly said, the opportunities are there. At the same time, there are challenges. We have actually enumerated things that we expect our environmental players, that is government, to really do for us to clear that way. Policies need to really be looked at, or pave way that things that we need, we can really have access to them to bring back the expected results or feedback into the system. Yesterday I attended one of the seminar here, and it was on fish processing, and there was really an issue about a law that actually is not permitting fish export from Ghana to other countries. It's exciting to know that even today, if there's no law, the report from GIPA 2023 is just even stating that in 2023, $3,944 $146,007.17 was the amount of fish that was exported out of the country. So it tells you that a country that we are at the moment even having limitation to export our fish. This is what has been generated at this moment. If we all play the role and become very competitive, the opportunities is not just really remaining in Ghana here, but rather also give the propellant advantage also to the country to be recognized as a major fish producer and an exporter, or whichever way it can really be processed. All that we're just looking for, or we're calling for, it's the support. As my brother spoke, we're not begging. Within our domain, we're doing our best. We are investing and we are attractive in everything we're doing every day. We're only asking the environment to enable us to really make sure that we can succeed in what we're doing. Just as I said, a farmer cannot be playing the role that the policy player should play. And an insurance fellow was here a few minutes ago. I live all my life moving from farm to farm. I went into a farm that this person is spending thousands of dollars, not for the fish, but rather building a security fence wall against a storm or a wave, just to make this. From a farm that today, modern investment is going on with bioflocs and others, farmers are spending money bringing this technology into the country. Clearance from the harbor is a major issue. We need to really face the reality and then get things real to keep us going. That is the only way we can really see things going on with less stress, and then make the country whatever it is that we all expect it to be. Thank you.
I can see you made it long, so I'll make it short. Yes. Well said.
Thank you, and I'll say the business aspect of aquaculture is there. We need to be detailed to it. We need the support, as he said, but we also have to improve ourselves. We just have to understand the pressing need. You have a product and there is no need for the product, that's a problem. But there is a situation, there is the need for the product, but we cannot bring the product to the market. And we're not identifying the opportunities where to sell the product. So we have to come together as an industry, and the Aquaculture Ghana spearheading. We have to come together, help people. As we are training farmers, we should train the business aspect of it for us to be more formidable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So to sum it up, I think you all agree that the future of the industry in Ghana is very bright. Is that so? Okay. So thank you very much. I would like to also thank you all for making time to attend this session. There's another session coming up right after this. It's on the topic aquaculture finance. So if you can also join us for that session, that would be good. Thank you very much. And enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another session. This afternoon, we have a very experienced resource person. He's an industry player and has many years of experience in the industry. He is by name Mr. Ben Texan. So he's going to help us with our topic for this afternoon, aquaculture financing, improving the financing gap for aquaculture in Ghana. So I am Isaka Tete. I'm with the Chamber of Aquaculture. I serve as the research director of the chamber. So I would ask Mr. Texan to also introduce himself, the organization he works with, and maybe a little background to himself, then we can start with our session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Benjamin Texan. I am a partner and director of operations for R&B Farms. R&B Farms is into everything aquaculture, from hatchery to feed production to training and grow out. My background is in finance. I'm a chartered accountant by profession. I've worked with a number of international organizations, including Nasdaq Stock Exchange in the US, Xerox Corporation, Pricewaterhouse Ghana, and the United Nations. And I decided to go into fish farming. I've been doing this for about 4 years now. So I think I have both worlds in the finance and then in the fish farming. And also, I'm happy to see my colleague CEOs up here. I share the same sentiment and the experiences they have. So I think I'll be able to deliver and provide some insight into it with your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Texan. So I know with such sessions, we have a lot of our stakeholders, but we also do have people who are new to the industry. Some are just here to listen and see if they can also go into the industry. So can you maybe briefly educate us on what aquaculture financing is? What is aquaculture financing for the person who is not an industry person?
Okay, thank you very much. Right now, if you look at the aquaculture sphere in the country, we have the very, very big players. And we have the plenty small scattered farms. The big players, we can make mention of Topo farms by way of the fish aspect. By way of the feed production, we can talk of Cycle Feed, Ranan, and those people. These individual companies form about 10% of the population in the aquaculture industry. Now, the bottom 80% are made up of small farmers and producers. So the question is, the financing that a company like Cycle Farm or Tropo needs is not the same as a guy in maybe Adan or somewhere in the eastern region who has 1 or 2 ponds. So we can group all of them together that this is the way to go. A major feed production company or Tropo farms will require millions of dollars. A typical fish farmer in Ghana will need about 20,000 or 50,000. So you can't put all of them together to say this is the source of finance or the way to go. So I will try to see how best to address both ends. Now, what are the sources of financing available if you want to start your farm? Whichever way it is, whether you want to produce feed or whatever. We have the traditional way, the equity finance, or your normal savings, your actual individual savings, either by inheritance or your accumulated savings from your job that you are doing. We also have the loans that we're talking about from the banks, not quick loan, because quick loan will not be enough for you, but the loans from the bank, and don't forget that you're talking about 35 to 37, 38% interest rate, which will, if time permits, we'll dive into it, whether it makes sense or not. We also have joint venture, which is one very good area to look into. That is between you and your friends, you and your wife, you and your brother, putting your resources together so that you don't have to pay interest to anybody. That is another way we can look into that. Unfortunately, in Africa and in Ghana, it's difficult to work together. Even with your own brother. Initially, you struggle. As soon as the money starts coming, then the devil sits in. You don't know where the argument comes. But it also has a reason why it's like that. If time permits and questions come, we'll be able to address those issues. Then we have grants. And what are grants? These are the facilities that are from government or from some NGOs or from some international organizations that have good or genuine intention to develop a particular area or sector that want to give to the players in this sector to apply. By my brother, I am an experience in this area. You write the proposals, they will give you a tall list of eligibility requirements that start from the ground to the rooftop. And they will ask you questions including your grandmother's birth certificate. And still you won't qualify. So this is the broader spectrum of available sources of funds that we have that we can look into. And then maybe when at the right time we'll dive into individual ones or whatever you think fits into your need.
Okay. Thank you very much. So the next question has to do with the challenges that you face when you want to raise finance or funding for aquaculture projects or activities. What are some of those challenges?
Thank you very much. So let's assume that you don't have your own savings or you don't have any property to sell to start this farm. So you are going to look for money from somewhere. Let's take our typical banking institutions we have in the country. Basically, if you're a new farm, the Ghana banks don't finance startups. I wish some of the representatives were here. They only come in when they see your money is flowing. If you need money to start a business, no bank in Ghana will give it to you. Even when you have acquired your land, you've even done some investment to some extent, you need a little money to continue. No bank in Ghana will finance a startup. They want a company that has a track history, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years a financial statement that they can evaluate to see that, oh, this is a good thing. Elsewhere, there are banks that are purely designed to finance some of these initiatives. So if you have a very good idea, banks are there to work with you. They can even bring in experts to guide you so that you'll be able to deliver, so they make their money, get they send their investment back, and also get their profit. Ghana, no bank will give you any money if they don't know or if you haven't been in that business before. And if you are lucky and somebody gives you one, also you need to bring a collateral. Other property that you probably going to bring in. The question is, then do I have to sell that property and use it for my business so that I don't have to come and pay 38% to you at the end of the year? Another thing. Then, even if you're able to provide a collateral, the question is, elsewhere, while the loan is given to you, they can give you about 4 or 5 years to start paying. Ghana Bank gives you money. Within the next 2 months, they start coming after you when you haven't made a single sale. So it's very, very difficult, trust me, to start a business looking for a facility. The financing part that we are talking about here is the company that is already in existence. So here too, you see that we are seeing the two parts. Where you need money to start a business, don't go to the bank because you won't get it. If you get it, you cannot pay. Because if you are going to pay 38%, it means at the end of the day, you need to make a lot of money to the sender. After paying all your expenses, you can still get 38% to give to the bank, together with how much you are supposed to pay. Don't take it to aquaculture industry. The reason is that just a change of weather will see all your tilapia floating on the surface of the water. And how are you going to pay? Because it's a very risky area to go for loan to start this business. Now, let's go to already those companies that are already in business, that have very good track record. Now the bank is ready to finance. But it also depends. The banks also, oftentimes, you can't blame them. Their hands are tied. Since we cannot even have a limit that we can sell our fish, the banks have a limit that they cannot go in giving money to you. If Bank of Ghana set the borrowing rate at 35%, no bank will give you a loan below 35%. It's also going to put its margin on it. So to sell to you at 36 or 37. If you are very good with them, then they can negotiate these two CDs on it, whether to get it at 36.5 or something. So technically, even the existing company that have very good record, it's very difficult to borrow. And even if you get the money, which you qualify because you have the track record, paying back means that a lot of your profit is going to go into this. That's the reality we are facing in the country. I don't want to go so typically into the academia of what is finance in aquaculture. I want to bring it practically because I think at the end of the day, individuals want to know what can I do. So that as we are navigating, we'll see which areas that are available to you and which areas that are not available to you. If you have to go through normal textbook thing, then I can lecture plenty. But let's navigate around the obvious and the challenges that you face if you find yourself in that situation.
Okay, thank you very much. So from what you just said, it appears financial institutions shy away from investing in aquaculture ventures. If I'm right, is that true?
It cuts across, not only in aquaculture ventures. I don't even think that anybody, I'm yet to find out that a particular bank has sat down to say that, well, I'm going to even consider aquaculture as a whole. When it comes to lending, they cut across everything. Some bank will flatly tell you that we don't finance hotels, we don't finance fish farms. That one, they will be able to tell you, right? So it's not specifically as a policy that it's a aquaculture issue and that any other company can easily get money. No. It's the reality we are facing across the industry in Ghana so far as the banking sector is concerned.
Thank you very much. So with your experience as an industry person, what would you say are some of the things that aquaculture businesses need to do in order to be able to attract investment?
Okay. Thank you very much. The question is it worth going to borrow? That's what everybody will ask. Even if it's your own money, you want to find out, is it a good business for me to put my money in? The question is yes. I was talking to some consultants in the US who is white, is not a Ghanaian. Possibility of exporting fish to North America. And this guy told me flatly, he said, you know what? The price of fish, especially tilapia in Ghana, you won't get it anywhere in North America. So the price is very good in Ghana. Don't worry yourself about exporting it. If it is catfish, fine, because you have your diaspora community who like the dried one and all that. But, and of course, when we had a discussion at those who sat in at the CEO session, you heard that in North America, they can grow tilapia to 2 kilos within the same period that a Ghanaian farmer will grow the same tilapia to 500 grams. This means he can sell his tilapia at lower cost price than we do here. So basically, the prices that we are selling our produce are very good. What the problem we are having is the input cost. How do we reduce the cost of production? How do we get the feed at cheaper price? How does the feed producer get the ingredients and all the other input at lower price so that he can also come down on the pricing? Labor side is good. Comparatively, our cost of labor is not as high as North America. But then all the other stuff do not support good. So the bottom line is that yes, it's a good venture to go in. Is it worth putting your investment? If you have your own personal investment, and also made mention of joint venture, if you're a group of people, friends or family, you can put your resources together. But the advice I would give is that right from the beginning, do your paperwork. Let's agree that Kweku, bring me 10,000, you get 10%. Bring 50,000, you get 50%. So that we agree. And then who's going to work on the farm? If you still want to enjoy your 8 to 5 job and put your tie and wear, sit in air condition, fine. I will devote my time to be on the field, so I need to be paid. So you understand, each and everyone will understand the fundamentals, so that when the money comes and we are sharing, we don't have any problem. So I highly recommend joint venture, pulling resources together, but make sure that right from the beginning, you guys put the agreement on the ground. How profit is going to be shared, who is going to be paid if you work on it, and then even discuss whose family member is coming and whose family member is not coming. Because trust me, they can pollute your mind, or it can even bring issues among you. The next part is the loans. Of course, if you are lucky to get a bank to finance, that's fine. If you're already in business, I know maybe you wanted some money for expansion. So at that period, you know, and you've done your cost analysis that if I'm able to get some loan to finance this expansion, I'll be able to recoup my money and pay the loan within 2 or 3 years. That one we all do. It's good if you're in a business and you need some money for quick expansion, and you can crunch your numbers and you know that you can be able to pay within a short time. Why not? You can go for the loan. For startup, I doubt you get it, but if you're able to get it, then you have a lot of work to do.
Okay, thank you very much. Since you have been in the sector for quite a while, are you aware of any government support for businesses like yourself that maybe you could also introduce our people to?
Not that I know.
I mean, in terms of finance.
Yes, and that means we are going into the grant part. We know of the grant, which I'll talk to one or two. I will share. Also, some of the farms, I don't want to be more political. If you are doing very well, you'll be able to be contacted, or probably take you to the 1D, 1F. Yeah. But that technically is not a loan. It's not a grant. It's a guarantee for you to get a loan, so they'll be able to pay at probably lower rate. Those facilities are there. Another facility that I know of is the GSDF, Ghana Skill Development Fund. It's also good for farms. If you have a very good program and proposal that you think can help also train and create employment in your locality, you can try your hands on, but all comes to the point that you need to get a number of years experience. You can't just have that idea and walk in that they will give you that money to start something. It doesn't work like that. As I told you, some of these grants have very tall list of eligibility requirements, and they will ask for your grandmother's birth certificate.
Thank you very much. So clearly, it means that there are some financing gaps in our sector. What do we need to do, or what do we have to do to improve these financing gaps that we have in the aquaculture sector?
Thank you very much. I always say that since we are developing this particular sector, that's the aquaculture sphere, there should be a deliberate attempt. There should be what we call the Marshall Plan to say that, you know what, within the next 5-10 years, we want to move this industry to this level. And what do we need to do? By way of even training. Trust me, whenever you ask me what's the most challenge that you face in your business, I said getting a qualified person to do the job. I'm not talking about those who will be tender my fingerlings or feeding the fish or carrying things. That's why you can take anybody and train. But supervisory level to senior management. If you get somebody who knows the fish, doesn't know management. If you know somebody who knows management, doesn't know fish. And that's the problem we have. And I'm very happy when my colleague, I think Andre, made that mention. Anders, yeah, made that mention. That's the most difficult challenge the owners of businesses of this type have. Most people who train in fish farming in the universities want to be in their offices. They want to work at Fisheries Commission, want to work at the bank. And here's the case: I have hung my computer and my jacket and my tie and my chartered accountant certificate. I am in the bush. And then those people, rather, with all the skills and the training, want to sit in the bank. And if you take anybody, especially we have a lot of people from who have done this fish hatchery in the Volta region, in the Eastern region, we bring them, they are very good. Sometimes I say, you know what, we can train them. Unfortunately, because of the mindset, you take this person to the supervisory role, pay him very well as a supervisor, and next time you go around, he's sitting in the pond doing the operational work, because he doesn't have that managerial and supervisory leadership role to mobilize the staff to do the job. So that is one problem we are having in this industry. And I was very happy when he mentioned that we need to deliberately train people to do farm management in this area. Okay. So that is one aspect. If you want to move it to the level that we want, we need to have the skill sets that are going to happen. Other than that, you even put in this investment, and at the end of the day, they will go waste. Or you have to stop everything and go and sit in the farm, like I do. I spend most of the time in the farm. And you'll be surprised when you take your car away, what will happen behind you. And the question I was bringing to that, I digress a bit. It has escaped me.
The last question?
Yes, please.
I was talking about what we need to do to improve, the financing gaps that we have.
Yes. So first of all, so that's part of it, the thing. But then the other aspect that we need to do to improve this is that there need to be a deliberate. Yes, that's where I was coming to. Deliberate Marshall Plan that we want to develop this industry. If that's the case, then the banks, I will come back to them, can actually come out with special financing arrangement at maybe a flexible and very soft loan arrangement with the farms. That if you are into aquaculture industry, you can get a rate at say 20%, and we'll give you 1 year or 2 year moratorium to pay. You take the whatever collateral you take, but at least give me flexibility and let the rate not be as high as that. And then with the central bank and the government, probably they can come in to do some of these exceptions. And then the financing itself from the government. Normally, I don't want to talk plenty about what government needs to do, what government needs to do, because this industry is 100% private driven. I'm yet to see a single tilapia coming out from a government farm. Government doesn't produce tilapia. Fisheries Commission doesn't produce tilapia. Ministry doesn't produce tilapia. They are just regulators. They set up the pace, the rules and regulations for us to play the ball. However, since the ministry, and I made mention yesterday, has a name that Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, it means you are developing something. You can't just have a baby today that you need to cater for till he finishes school, and just after having the baby, you leave the baby and say, go and fend for yourself. It doesn't work. If the place is developed, if the baby is matured, it means the baby is fully developed. Then you can allow him to go. But so far you are developing something, then, hey, you need to come in to put the various modalities and the support and the safety nets around the baby so that the baby can grow. So here's where now, for the first time, I'll mention the government intervention. That set up the rebate fund that aquaculturists can access, okay, to manage their farms. Even if the person's in business, like what happened to our colleagues on Akosombo, trust me, most of them will not be able to wake up. What do we have to support them to get back on your feet? Whenever this intervention came, and I happened to be in a forum, I said, nobody should make any attempt to give the farmers, my colleagues, cash, because we will eat it. And that is it. You know why? Because if you give me money, I'm going to take some to take care of my family and myself. The fish needs about 6 months to maturity. I won't be able to cater for the fish. If you want to support me, give me fingerlings, give me inputs, and some money to pay my workers. Within 6 months, I'll be on my feet. I don't need to come to you. But right now, if you give me cash, 6 months time, I won't produce fish. So these are some of the deliberate interventions that we need to have in the industry. Not just handouts or stuff like that. If you really want to develop something, if I'm going to give you something, let's say that within 5-6 months, what can you turn around? Not something that I can give to you that you know very well that the amount of money you are giving me will not last me for 2 months.
Thank you very much. So I think with your last response, what you are referring to is the Aquaculture Development Fund.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Something like that, thank you.
Yeah. So the chamber has met, as I said in our last session, we've met almost all the key players in our country, both from the political side to whichever. And whenever we come up with this idea that there should be an aquaculture development fund, the typical response we get is, if the sector is so good, then the financial sector should be able to come on board and help. So you as a stakeholder, how important do you think this is, the Aquaculture Development Fund, to the industry?
Thank you very much. The fund is very important. The reason why it's different from getting the private sector to come on board, so far the financing is concerned, if you're talking about private sector, it means you're talking about our normal traditional banks. And the normal traditional banks are there to make money. They are not there to give money for free. So that at the end of the day, if you don't succeed, they lose. They want viability. They want to make sure that they will get their money back. Even if you don't succeed, they will come after your property. So you can't say that, well, hey, we should go to the private sector. The interest rate issue is there. Eligibility requirement is there. Your collateral is there if you don't have. Okay? So that's where we need a deliberate, even the banks are ready, assuming a particular bank is saying that, well, I am so good, my social responsibilities, I want to come out as a bank that is helping aquaculture. Bank of Ghana will not allow them to lend the loan at 15%. It will never happen. So what can even a private bank do under this circumstance? And you cannot borrow at 35% to go and start a farm and succeed. So this is the reason why we need to have a deliberate aquaculture development fund set up by government, and so that we can assess that one. All these regulatory requirement does not affect it. They look at your farm and see how eligible you are, how much you can do, and then they give you the support.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm happy you spoke about the Akosomo Dam spillage. We as a chamber, we always, almost on weekly basis, we have people calling us. When is government coming to our aid? We lost all our investment, we lost our cages. And we told them, I mean, we as a chamber, we don't have money lying down that we just call you and say, take this. We can only, plead or, talk to government to come to your rescue, okay? In one of our discussions with one of the foreign embassies in the country, they were encouraging us to get all our members to get aquaculture insurance. And we told them, yes, we also urge our members to get it. But the insurance companies are not even interested in insuring aquaculture, facilities. So from your experience, what do you think? Do you think we need to push that? I mean, you are a farmer. Do you have insurance in the first place for your farm?
Actually, the insurance I have is not for my losses. That's for sure. Yeah. Maybe something against accident or stuff like that. Okay. But I don't have insurance for losses just in case my fish die or anything like that happens. But insurance is good. Yesterday, after my presentation, and I made mention of exactly this insurance companies coming out with something like that. And then a young man from Glyco approached me, and I want to mention the company's name. They said, we've done this for about a year now. I've been trying to reach you to talk to you. I said, that's a good thing. You should have even contacted me to help you develop the policy. Not only doing insurance that should my fish die, I get some money. Do also in such a way that if I'm able to take good care of my fish within a year, I can get some percentage back. Okay, that would be more attractive to the farmer Not like just paying in like our fake insurance. You just pay. If you don't involve in accident, if you are not involved in an accident, you don't get anything back. But as a farmer, if I'm paying this money, give me a breakdown. Okay, take good care of your fish. If you're able to survive for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, without coming to me, I'll probably give you 50% of your money back. Well, some form of savings. It'll be very attractive. So he's collected my number and said, you'll get back to me. So the bottom line is that yes, insurance in this industry is very, very good. Something that we can look at, but it should be very attractive also, because the fish farmer, oftentimes the small one, their profit margin is very, very small. And if I have to spend that money to go and also pay insurance, trust me, he won't do it. So even though this facility will be there, but it will never be utilized. But it should be couched in such a way that it becomes very attractive to the farmer.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I have not exhausted all my questions, but I would want to open the floor for the participants here to also ask your questions. So if there is any question or comment, please raise your hand and we'll bring the microphone to you. Any question, any comment? Okay.
Yes, with regards to the Aquaculture Development Fund, I guess you will suspect that will be the first thing I'll talk about. Yes, so you are looking at the environment we are in, a lot of credit crunch for the state. And funds, if I am going to be very honest, will be very difficult to get, at least in the next few years. If you are not careful, it will be very difficult to get government to start up any development fund. However, there are existing agencies or institutions that have streams that can help. So for instance, we have the Exim Bank. It has a dedicated stream of funds that it receives every based on taxes we pay. So my question is, if you go to the Exim Bank, they are able to develop models for financing different aspects of the economy. So say cassava processing, they will develop a model and then they will support cassava processing. So if the Exim Bank can develop a model that supports aquaculture development, wouldn't that work as similar to what a development fund will do? I don't know if my question is a bit clear, is clearer.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. The whole bottom line is that at the end of the day, how much is going to be the interest rate? And would it be okay for the fish farmer? And also the issue of saying that the nature of the economic situation we are facing, it is very difficult to do that. Remember, I made mention of something called Marshall Plan. You deliberately make an effort and want to develop this. It won't take one day. Despite the fact the economy is difficult, at the end of the day, we get our salaries. At the end of the day, school feeding pays somewhat. At the end of the day, free JSS or SHS is going on. So these were deliberate policies that the government put in place. And I believe that at the time that they put these policies in place, I don't think the economy was so rich. But we said that, well, it's a necessity. So then let's see how best we can squeeze something a little bit. Trust me, if out of the budget, we squeeze 100 million cedis that will finance this particular fund every year. I mean, we have over 200 farmers, assuming, and we are giving them 100,000, 50,000, 100,000, 50,000. Trust me, you can see a number of farmers that can access this money. And 100 million cedis to a Ghana government is peanut. So you don't need huge amount of money for you to say the economic situation will not permit. Just having a deliberate attempt that we want to do something in this sector is even enough. And trust me, if this idea is even there, we can use that to leverage to other international financial organizations like AFDB, Africa Development Bank. And you made mention of Exim Bank. Exim Bank, we want to be part of this, then finance this 50%. So Exim Bank would now bring in 550 million out of this 100 million to this particular fund and then we can leverage over other banks. And World Bank is putting money in agriculture and fish farming. They can also probably add some. So just having the plan and deliberate attempt, we'll see how best we can even improve these resources from these well-meaning organizations to fund this particular fund. I believe you agree with me. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to go along the line he went. As a fish farmer, do you need money? Or is it those resources like the feed and what other things that you need? And if it is not cash that you need, isn't there another way to approach the financing? You know, for example, I'm talking to my partner, I'm saying we don't need to own equipment because leasing companies do that and you pay as you work. As a fish farmer, is it cash that I need or is it feed that I need? That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. It depends on the size of your farm. Most of our farmers, and I say about 80% or say 60% of them, they made it like a family business where your son, your nephew feed the fish and all that. Some of us who are doing it at a large scale, every little thing in the farm, you pay for it. Even if you need a sand to fill some place, you have to call the tipper truck and pay for it. So we need money. We need money every day. And two, if you put the fish in the pond or in the cage today, you are not going to see any money until 5-6 months time when they are matured. During that period, in the well-structured system, you can go for a facility during that period to pay for the feed, as you are saying, instead of somebody bringing you the feed at maybe on credit, that definitely is going to add a markup because you are taking it on credit. But if you have the money to pay, maybe on the spot, you may probably enjoy some discount. You need money to pay your staff for the 5 months or 6 months that you are waiting for your fish to mature. So yes, you need money all the time. You need money for your equipment, you need money for your diesel, the fuel, the transportation, everything, until your fish reaches maturity. In my farm, I don't get anything for free. Everything that I send or they send to me, you have to pay. Even feeding my staff, one time I say, you know what, you should grow your own vegetables so that at least I don't have to pay vegetables for the kitchen. Other than that, you are buying everything. So yes, it's a very cash-driven type of venture. Every day you are spending money, and you only make money on maturity. And also, unfortunate thing is that when the fish reaches maturity, you are not selling them the same day or the same month. It's going to take you a while. So even the money, the cash flow will also not be big for you to even clear all your expenses. It will take a while before you're able to even recoup. And then to start over again, of course, you need to stagger your production, which is something else, so that there's a flow throughout the year.
Hi, Ben. So my question is around profitability. So with small-scale farmers, what is typically like the unit economics? Is small-scale farming profitable in Ghana? And my other question is, I mean, in certain countries like Kenya, for example, some of the fish farmers, they put themselves into like cooperatives, and then they are able to then go for loans. And it's more easier because it's more like a group of people trying to go for loans from the banks, and it gives the banks a bit more security. So has this been tried in Ghana? And if it's been tried, how is that going? Thank you.
Thank you very much. In a typical advanced country, doing something like this in a small scale will make your cost very high, because the bigger you do, the more you save, because of your what do you call it? The quantity advantage that you may have. If you are growing 10,000 as against 2,000, the chances are you're probably going to get one or two workers who are feeding them. If you are growing 2,000, you're still going to need maybe the same two workers. But here it means you are saving, you are reducing your costs as you expand production. What makes small-scale farming in our environment more also profitable is that most of the small scales that I know, they do everything themselves. They don't crunch the figures like on the scale and everything. Most of the owners, they don't even put in their own hours that they spend on the farm. They use their family members, like our typical grandfathers, grandmothers who were doing cocoa farming. So at the end of the day, the money comes, and sometimes it also has its own disadvantages. The team that's the CEO team, we're talking about the market price. We are not talking that you should fix the price. We are talking about harmonizing the pricing. Unfortunately, because this small scale farmer is not costing every aspect or operations in the farm, at the end of the day, if the middleman comes and say, I'm giving you 20 cedis per kilo, out of desperation or whatever, he just hands it over. Sometimes when I see some of this pricing on certain platform, I have 1,000 fish going for, say, this amount. I said, if this guy is able to sell this fish, he can't be in business again. Because if you actually crunch your figures, you know that even your feed alone will not cover the cost price that you are selling. But unfortunately, most of the small scale farmers, they use their own strength, they use their own family members. Some also don't even feed the fish well, and the sources of the water and certain equipment. So at the end of the day, they don't see the actual cost that goes into the farm. So they think they are making money. But yes, here we still make money because we use a lot of shortcuts and using our own labor, and then you can even take some things from a brother of mine came for fingerlings for me and then said, well, do you have some feed in your factory? Can you give me about 1 bag? So this person will now say, well, I got the feed for free, but you need to cost it when you are selling your fish. So some of these things still makes profitable, but yeah, if you can scale it up, it is more advantageous.
We are yet to get a question from a lady. Please, the ladies. We need at least a question from one of the ladies. I have a friend in the house who is a staunch feminist, so at least just one question. Any question from the ladies behind? Dorcas, do you have any question? Please give the microphone to her.
Okay, I don't think it's a question, but when it comes to these aquaculture financing and costing, I think if every farmer tries to keep records on your farm, you would know that this is how much you are using, and then this is how much you sold, so you know whether you're making profit or not. So I think the record keeping, especially, is very, very important. Yes. And then aside that, when you're keeping records, the way we keep records on mortality so that we know that we are losing fish, the same way when you give fish out as a gift, you include it. And then you know that, okay, this is how much I'm giving out as a gift. How much am I losing through these gifts? Or how much am I losing through my family eating this number of fishes? So that would also help us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's true, and it also comes back to you. If you use family members and friends to do the farm, automatically they will come for fish for free. So more or less, you are still paying. So I agree with her. You need to cost it. If you are costing the number of hours that your sister or your friend came to work, then at the end of the day, if he comes back for fish, if you don't give it to him, say, I help you out, and now your fish is ready, I come and you didn't even give me one. So you cost it, and then so that when it comes to the time that you are giving some out, then you balance it off. It pays off. Record keeping in this industry is the key. Either else, you may think that you are making profit, and you are not. A friend or a family member may give you some money. As soon as you go to the farm, they bring some cost. We need some things. They give the money out. Because you didn't keep record. At the end of the day, so I have 2,000 fish I sold. I got 100,000. You think you are in business. You are not.
Thank you very much. There's another question from the gentleman down there. Thank you.
So, Ben, I wanted to put this question to you as well. So, for example, in Indonesia, right, there is like phone applications where fish farmers can go on and order their feed, okay, and through ordering their feed every time, they also get a chance to use a farm management application where they are able to, on a daily basis, record how much they're feeding, how much they're harvesting, etc. And then by always putting that data on the app every day, they're able to keep their records, right? So the app has like a track record of how much they're selling, how much they're producing on a monthly basis. Now, with that, farmers can go to like this app provider who probably would work with, let's say, a Ghana commercial bank, right? To provide soft input loans like feed, etc. to the farmers, right? Just like he said, maybe the farmer doesn't need the cash but needs input. So with something like feed, this app provider can then provide these farmers with the feed, and then maybe the farmers pay after every harvest. My question is, will the farmers actually, first, do they have this capability to be able to input information on the app, right? If that would result in them getting financing, are they willing to do it, right? Because, I mean, as a bank or as a financier, you're not going to provide financing when the farmer doesn't even know whether they're making profit or not, right? So I really want to think with you, what do you think about the psychology of these farmers? Will they actually put information on the app? And we've seen these models work in like places like Indonesia. Kenya is trying it as well. But how does it compare to Ghana?
Okay. Thank you very much. What we need to have in mind is that we are not going to be here forever. The industry is growing. Technology is growing. Previously, I would not be sitting here holding this. I would probably be standing with a long cord microphone. Most countries have taken a giant leap in technology, and it's helping a lot. There are other apps in the system that if you're a farmer and you are doing serious business, you can use. The one that he's even talking about, you can even link that one app with your feed supplier. So you don't need to call your feed supplier. The feed supplier is sitting in the factory and knowing that you're going to need these sizes. R&B Farms in the next 2 weeks is going to need 100 bags of 2 mm feed, 600 bags of 4 mm, because you hook it up to their system. So you don't even need to call them, they know. And they will prepare in advance, because it's not like they produce there, sitting there waiting for people to buy. Because of inventory purposes, they also don't want to lock up their capital by producing and waiting for it to come. Expiry date and everything. So they all need to plan. So if we have an app like this, and even you hook it up to your supplier, it also helps him or her to plan in advance for you. The question is, can the Ghanaian farmer be able to use this? One thing I always assured myself in this industry is that, let's see our marine fishermen. In our typical villages, fishing villages, most of these fishermen, our great-great-grandfathers, most of them were not educated. Even as at now, most people in this industry are not educated. They're able to go to sea and navigate their way at night and come home. Okay? Even as these days. So how much more some of us who now can use WhatsApp, has SHS and all that, and we're into this type of business, we should even do twice or 4 or 5 times what they are doing. So yes, oftentimes if you haven't brought the thing up, we may think that we'll not be able to do it. But talking about a typical bank that wants to do this, how can you do this? I've given 100 farmers loan. How do I do my monitoring? You can roll this app to them. You don't need to even go to the farm. Hey, at the end of, by 25th of each month, stand by your pond, film it, send me WhatsApp. Now enter the quantity of feed you gave to them in this, and I'll be able to capture it at my end and do my analysis to know the progress you are making. If you are standing by your pond, which probably has been numbered, and then I know you are standing there and I see what is inside there, my monitoring evaluation team is sitting there. If you have already eaten that fish and you are taking that money from me, I know that the fish, they don't exist. You getting me? So oftentimes, because the farmer is in some village that you may not even be able to go there, but you approve the facility. So it's your responsibility to roll this app to them. They may not even have internet, but so far as you can, most people have app on the phone that they're able to watch movies and videos and all that. His son, the person might not even be educated, his son or somebody, hey, Kwaku, bet your picture, mommy, now from a bank of phone, mommy. And then you can easily do that to mobilize this and gather this data at your office. And somebody will be sitting there, then analyze this data. It's okay, this farmer is having problem. We need to have a field visit. Okay, so even that, if there's a, let's say, if there's a will, there's a way. If the bank is really ready to give this money to the farmers, there should be a way to monitor it. And you can even have a simple app deployed to them that they can just go there once in a month, send you data by way of videos and pictures, and then the numbers at the end of the month, let's see how many fish died. You can enter that, 6 died, 10 died. How many bags of feed did you give? Or I gave them 2 bags of feed. Then whoever understand these figures can then model whatever analysis is it to see whether you are making progress or not. So yes, it's doable and we need to do it.
Thank you very much. Based on the data collected by the Chamber of Aquaculture, we are well informed that farmers, fish farmers, they are among the most educated farmers in Ghana. The average fish farmer has completed primary school. They can read and write, and most of them are using smartphones, okay? I'm not talking of those working on the farms. The owners of those farms themselves, who may need to enter those data that you are asking for. I can say, based on the little information that I have, there are more university graduates in fish farming than any other, sector of, agric or whatever farming it is, okay? A lot of university graduates, and majority of them do not even have aquaculture background. A lot of them, like the gentleman here, is from the finance sector who has now moved in. Majority are like that, okay? I'm also one of them, I don't have any aquaculture sector background, but I had to learn. Mr. Wisdom, who is sitting there, is also the same. So, regarding the app that you spoke about, trust me, if they bring it here to Ghana, our stakeholders will be able to use it. Okay. Yeah, I know them. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so now I have to put one gentleman here on the spot. I know he's competing with a lot of companies that are foreign owned. He's one of the very few indigenous Ghanaians who produces feed from Ghana and buys almost 70% of his raw materials locally. Mr. Wisdom, sorry for putting you on the spot. I want to find out from you. You being in a position where you competed, a lot of foreign companies, how challenging has it been for you raising funds for your projects or your business?
Thank you. I think it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge that we are facing because we do not have that liberty to step out to have whatever our competitors or our counterparts can easily get. So on our side, we know for sure that the base rate set by the Bank of Ghana can also not be compromised by any other bank that have any good initiative to roll anything out. So we just adapted ourselves to make do with what we have by just being efficient in whatever we're doing, reducing our waste, and constantly looking at alternative formulations that can really put us up in our game. So we spend most of our time on our R&D, making sure that day-to-day feed that we produce, we run an internal trials on our own. We have external trials that is also taking place. So we do these corrective measures to see exactly how it goes. Our point is just to continuously do it this way to be more attractive to the financial agencies. We know for sure that they cannot do anything, but we are also just telling them that the fact that we are in need, we are not gullible to accept a bank an interest rate of over 35, 36, 40%. So it is really challenging. We are in the same sector that providing feeds to farmers, that farmers actually need credit, and you are constrained, but you equally have to extend a hand to farmers. We are not able to do the massive credit support that we used to do in the past for 1 month, because no bank is actually going to give us a kind of a overdraft for a month and then not to take anything from that. We are just encouraging farmers today that the strategy that we are using, can they actually also tailor their operations in that way? We limited our credit period also with them, and also just being meticulous which farm to work with, because like my brother said, the Akosombo Dam actually create a lot of problem for us. Most of the farms that actually wash off, they actually cannot pay the fee they owe. We know that they are not in existence, so we are unable also to collect money from them. So it's a challenging moment that each day we're seeing exactly that really going on. That led to even a kind of a downsizing, that you have to really let some workers actually go home. So internally, we are just really working hard to be efficient in that way until we actually chance on other alternatives that we're looking up to get to where we want to get to. So that is exactly what I can just share with you. The system really needs to come out very clean to see exactly like the fund that my brother have just mentioned. What's the name? What's another entity that he also mentioned that we're looking at? But to really go into the commercial market that you go in for, listen, we see it as a time wasting, because we just don't have that time. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, thank you very much. I remember I said RMB is into all aspects of fish farming. So I'm familiar with what he is going through as well. And one major challenge that even those feed producers are having is the raw materials. The major component of the carbohydrate of the raw material is the maize. And trust me, Mr. Wisdom is competing with the Abubushi Banku seller, because he is buying the feed, the maize for Banku, and he's also buying the maize, the same maize for fish feed. And so the price can only go up. So you may think that well, if I can source some of these raw materials locally, it will be cheaper than importing, but you end up even paying very high. Then what is the next alternative? Then let me import from US or Brazil. And then you see the exchange rate. Even if apart from not getting tax exemption or import duty exemption, the exchange rate is also going up every day. The feed companies are barely making profit. Every now and then I'm fighting with my feed manager, because it's not only putting things together, as he said, you are doing R&D. What we have, the FCA, feed conversion rate. You want to make sure that once you put the feed into the water for the fish to eat, within 1 week, you want to check the weight. The next week, you want to check the weight. If you're not getting the size that you want, it means the farmer will buy your feed and say, my fish is not growing. So it's not just like combining some concoction and giving it to the farmers. You have a responsibility to make sure that the feed conversion rate is at what rate is the fish able to convert the feed into body weight. The lower, the better. It means it's not eating plenty feed and your fish is growing faster. If it's eating plenty feed before getting certain weight, it means there's something wrong with your feed. So if that is not, you are not getting the numbers, then what do? Let's increase the protein. And the little protein you increase, it means you have to adjust your cost. It's going to eat into your fish meal, your blood meal, all other aspects, soybean, all the things that give you the protein are very expensive. Just like when you go to the market, fish is more expensive than cassava. So anything that is going to give you the fish protein is also very, very expensive. And then, excuse me, so it's not even easy formulating the feed. And then as much as possible that you want to satisfy your customers and be on top or at par with the competition, you're also thinking about buying competing with the banku sellers and everybody, even the poultry farmers, in the same market for maize. So it's very, 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 very challenging. And I appreciate, maybe I wish we can share ideas, see how he's surviving and how I'm surviving. I use some for my fish. So I have my internal cost, how much does it cost me to produce the feed? And also I produce some to sell. So how much margin I need to add up. And then sometimes me being a fish farmer, you can't even make profit because I said, my guy cannot buy. Even if he buys it, he won't make profit. So you can't even add much on it. By the end of the day, you have workers to pay. You have GRA is on you. Senate is on you. The Assembly is on you. EPA is on you. Everybody is on you. Unfortunately, FDA, Fisheries Commission, it's difficult being in business in Ghana. But as we said, we are not saying this to discourage you. We are saying this to prepare you that this is what is at stake, so that you prepare and then we'll be able to surmount it. All we need is something that will cushion us so that we'll be able to go above the clouds, not to discourage anybody, because it's doable and we are resolved to do it.
Thank you. Any other question? Okay. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, so my question is pertaining to youth coming fresh from the university who have plans to make their own farms or even go into process it, but don't have the funds to. Since they don't already have an established entity, they don't have any records to go to the banks for loans. So what would be your advice to such youth on getting funds to bring their vision to life? Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe you want me to go into entrepreneurship, which is a whole topic altogether. Let me see. Like, I advise people, especially the young people, that you can never be rich if you are not your own boss. Rich, I'm talking about filthy rich, without being your own boss. But it's also not easy to just say, I wake up one day and I'm my own boss. We all need to work. Even if for not for money, we need to get the experience so that you'll be able to manage your own stuff. Just fresh from school, if you don't have money, how do you want to be in your own business? First of all, you don't have the experience, and also you don't have the money. So I don't think you are prepared at that stage. You will only be prepared if you have a family that they say, we have money and we want to help you. You getting me? So right from the beginning, this is the bottom line. If the family is there and there's money and want to help you, of course, then we can talk. Most likely, if the money can set up the capital to start, maybe a little bit can also even pay for a 1 or 2 month training in this area, so that you'll be able to have that experience that you lack because you haven't worked in the formal sector or in that particular sector before. So preparation is the key. Those who come for our aquaculture training, as people go to the YouTube and said, oh, you put the fish in the pond and you feed them and they grow. By just spending 1 week training with any farm or for our training, you are going to learn a lot of things that will save your capital. The fish will be growing all right. You go there one day, you feed the fish, you see them, they are not active. Because you don't have any knowledge about what is going on, you may not even notice. The next time you come, they are floating on the surface, all white. If you had gone to borrow as fresh graduate from school, or if I had advised you to go and borrow, and then they are floating, it means right from the beginning, it has killed your entrepreneurial spirit. Okay? So experience is the key, and the training is the thing. If the money is at home, I'm not saying that everybody straight from school go and look for a job. If money is at home, your family want to help you to set up something, so good. But try to get training in that area. Whoever can help you, even you can get somebody in the farm. When I started the farm, as my brother said, my background has been in finance throughout. But I said, if I'm going to devote my money in this, then I need to learn from whoever I can hear from. Sometimes we have to pay. I paid farmers, tilapia to come and spend time in my farm for 2 months. This guy has his own farm and he's making good money. Yet I was ready to bring him to come and help me set up my tilapia hatchery, because he will charge me and I'll pay. But I'll make sure that before he leaves, I have all the knowledge I need. Not only what he's telling me, I'm going online and I'm calling whoever is responsible. So going into business, we don't want to go too much into entrepreneurship because that's not the topic. what you need to do to start your own business. But if you find yourself in that situation, first of all, get knowledge in that area if you are very green in that area. And then the question is, how do I start if I don't have money? If I don't have money, then you can't start your own business in the first place. Because no experience, no money, I won't advise you to go and borrow. It will be a wrong advice. Thank you. Okay, let me see if I can put them together and if I understand. First of all, if you have the experience, that is good. If you think you have friends or colleagues that can put some money together to do it, because you don't have the money, but you have the skills. Those people who have the money may not even have the experience. So you say, hey, I can do this. If you can convince them with the figures, okay, that if I'm able to raise 100,000 fish at 35 cedis per kilo, it's giving me 350,000 Ghana cedis. 350,000 Ghana cedis within 6 months. I'm going to need a feed of, say, this amount of bags, which is going to cost me about 200,000. And then labor and water will cost me 100. So within the 6 months, we are going to make about 50,000. Okay? If you can convince them, I believe even your mother can buy into that. Then you go to work.
So before your question, I just want to say this before I forget. So as a chamber, we also help young people and startups, okay? I mean, we don't give you money, obviously. We don't have the money. But we have some few ways of helping. So for instance, the exhibitors that you see here, we have close to about 10 of them that are startups. They didn't pay anything, okay? We just give them the platform to market whatever they have, and hopefully they might get some, people to patronize the services or the products that they have. Also, through our activities, sometimes we do get some NGOs, some, foreign agencies contacting us that they have this fund for startups. So we always share with, people like yourselves and other stakeholders. So please be active. Try to follow the chamber and our activities, and you will get some of these things. We know of somebody who got $10,000 to start his, his own business. Okay, and this is free money. You don't have to go and pay interest to anybody. Okay, so thank you very much. The next question, please.
Sorry, my name is Israel. It's not actually a question. Okay, it's like a question in addition to what she was saying. I'm actually...
Name again, sorry.
Israel.
Israel?
Israel, yeah.
Okay.
So because I'm a youth too, and I have passion in aquaculture. I studied aquaculture. I studied animal production, but I find myself in the aquaculture field. And as a fresh graduate, we had issues. I had a passion not to work for another man. So, but coming out and the economy actually, sometimes, when you're trying to, you have the vision of getting a land of your own, and when you decide to go and work, I have the experience, and I'm trying to save money while gathering the experience, probably working for a farm, and I was able to gather some money. Now, when it's time for me to get the farmland, the price has increased, or probably the cost of setting up has increased. In that kind of scenario, what can you advise? Or looking at the fluctuating, because since yesterday, I've been in about two sessions where they've been talking about the increasing price of feed. And probably you've tried to calculate your cost, what it will cost you to start up. Then from there, you're intending to be using your profit to expand. So what's the solution to that? Because we've seen people who always advise us that most times it's not good for you to keep working for people. It's better you start somewhere. But starting somewhere still looks difficult. It has a lot of fear in it. That's the fluctuating price of feed. You now going back to your calculation, it looks like you need a very big amount of money, which your income might not be able to, or when you later get that money, it's still increasing.
Okay, let's focus on fish farming, and I think RMB has a solution for you. We have our training program, and the nature of RMB training program is that you come to our farm, we have hostel facilities. You stay there for 1 week, 2 weeks. At the end of your training, you go with your tarpaulin tank, 12 by 10. That can take about 1,000 or 1,200 fish to maturity. We give you starter feed because the first time that you're taking the fish out from 2 grams, you will need bigger feed. So we give you one that can last you to a certain stage before you can change the size of the feed. So the nature of our training is that you come there, you have free boarding, not a free boarding, it's including boarding. We feed you in the morning, afternoon, evening, you sleep, nice rooms. We also provide certain rooms available for seniors and pensioners. Somebody is a big man in the organization, I'm going on pension. And then I don't want to be bored at home, so I want to do something. So we want to make sure that when you come there, you have an environment, your room is AC and all that you don't feel like you are in the bush or anything. We've had people that the children will say that my dad is very bored. We want him to come and learn this, but he's diabetic. So we are worried that if he's away from home, he's feeding and stuff. I said, no, we are professional chef. Just tell us what he eats and what he doesn't, and we sort him out. So the bottom line is that you come for the training. We give you tarpaulin tank. We give you fingerlings, 1,000 pieces. And then we'll give you feed to go and start with. So at the end of your training, you are going home with your starter pack. Now the question of land doesn't come in. If you are living in a house, maybe your father's house, whatever, this tarpaulin can just fit under a tree or some corner or some garage. Now the question is, because you are a young guy, let me see how to start small. Okay? Assuming you came for R&B training and we put all this together, it's about 10,000, 11,000. You have your feed, you have your training, you have 1,000 pieces of fingerlings, and then you have 3 or 4 bags of feed to start with. 11,000. To maturity, once my 4 bags of feed finishes, you are going to buy more feed for the 5-6 months. Also, as part of our training, we train you on market access, how to start marketing your produce and where. So until the 5 months or 6 months that you're going to sell, let's assume you're going to spend additional, say 10,000 or 15,000 on feed. Add it to your initial 11,000. It's giving you around 25,000. Now, assuming with your training works out, you took care of the fish very well. Within 5 months, 6 months, you've gotten your 1,000 fish at 1 kilo. Normally, the maturity is 1 kilo. That is our measure. Right now, we sell 1 kilo of catfish at 35 cedis. Some farmers out of desperation, they do whatever they do, which is another story altogether. But if you do your marketing well, or even if as a young person, you can even add value by processing and finding market channels. But if you are selling it raw to the pubs, if it's at 35 cedis per kilo, it means you are getting 35,000. If you take your 25,000 from it, within 5 months, you make 10,000. What makes it interesting is that the next 6 months, you are not going to buy the tarpaulin tank anymore because you already have it. You are not going to pay for the training anymore. All you need is your feed and your fingerlings. That's what makes our training very attractive. Because you don't finish and go with a certificate of participation. I've trained R&B fans, I'm looking for a job. No. You come and then you go with your starter pack and you're already in business. I believe there are other similar initiatives like this that can help young and ambitious people like you to start. So in this case, in the second harvest, you are going to make more money than the 10,000 you made in the first. This means that you can pry back that profit by buying one additional tarpaulin and maybe increasing the fingerlings. So within a year or two, then you are in business. Are you getting me? So this is how normally they advise, okay, you can grow gradually. And also when you start with 1 and go into 2, you are gaining the experience, learning from your mistakes, so that you don't even go and borrow money and push it into it, and if you lose, then you lose everything and you just become frustrated. There are other initiatives like that. I decided to just narrow down to fish farming. So far as you are a young person and want to go into business, there are other initiatives like that can help you.
Thank you very much. I know we have some of our brothers and sisters from our neighboring countries here, Togo, Mali, Nigeria, Benin. If there's anyone from one of the West African countries here, or anywhere in Africa, please. If you also have any contribution or suggestion, please just raise your hand. If there's any. None. Okay. Any question? If there's no question, then I would ask Mr. Texan to just give us his closing remarks then. Okay.
Can I just say thank you very much for that insightful and very helpful presentation. But then doesn't that go back to what I'm saying is that, is it money that you need? Because the young man, obviously, he didn't, if he comes to your program, it's not the money that he needed. He needs the passion, the entrepreneurship, and the focus. That's the kind of thing I was talking about. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, the commitment and the seriousness is the key. And I remember I made mention that if there's the will, there's always the way. And oftentimes I even have big men saying that, oh Ben, I have some money here. What business can I enter into? I say, if you don't have any passion in anything, don't waste my time. So you are right. First of all, you have to have that passion. That is what I want to do. And everything else will fall in place. If you don't have the passion, trust me, they will give you the money and you throw it away. And what is passion? Let me take this opportunity. Anything that you can do for free if you are not paid is passion. That's how I define it. And take our footballers, for instance. When the footballers are growing up, like Kudus and that, they were just playing the ball for free. They love to do that. They won't come and pound